The front porch light cast shadows across 3 suitcases and 4 garbage bags. Naomi's suitcases. Her belongings stuffed into trash bags like they meant nothing. She stood at the bottom of the steps, still wearing her nurse's scrubs, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. The porch she had swept just that morning. The door she had painted blue last spring because Trevor said it reminded him of the ocean. Trevor stood in that doorway now, his arms crossed over his chest. Behind him, barely visible in the house that Naomi had spent 3 years turning into a home, stood another woman. Younger. Thinner. Wearing one of Naomi's robes. Trevor? Naomi's voice came out smaller than she intended. What's going on? Why are my things outside? I think it's pretty obvious, Naomi. Trevor's voice was cold. Clinical. Like he was discussing the weather instead of destroying their 7-year marriage. This isn't working anymore. I need you to leave. Naomi climbed 2 steps, her legs shaking. Leave? What are you talking about? This is our house. We can talk about whatever's wrong. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix. Trevor moved down 1 step, blocking her path. His face showed no emotion, no trace of the man who had promised to love her forever. I don't want to be married to you anymore. I want you gone. The woman behind him moved closer. She was young, maybe 25. Her hand rested on Trevor's shoulder with casual ownership. Trevor, baby, you don't have to explain anything to her. Just tell her to go. The world tilted. Naomi gripped the railing to stay upright. Who is she? Trevor, who is this woman in our house? Her name's Brittany. And it's not your house anymore. I want you gone by the time I finish loading her car. Trevor turned to go back inside, then paused. He looked back at Naomi with something worse than anger. Disgust. Honestly, Naomi, you should be grateful I stayed as long as I did. After what pregnancy did to your body. No man would want you now. You're used up. Damaged goods. The words hit like physical blows. Naomi's hand unconsciously moved to her stomach, where faint stretch marks remained from the baby she had lost at 6 months 2 years ago. The baby they had mourned together. Or so she thought. You're really doing this? Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not yet. After everything we've been through? What we've been through? You mean what I've been through, being tied to someone who couldn't even carry a baby to term? Do you know how embarrassing that was? My coworkers asking about the baby that never came? Naomi felt something break inside her chest. I almost died. The doctor said dash. I don't care what the doctor said. I care that I've wasted years of my life on someone who can't give me what I want. Brittany can. Brittany will. Trevor's voice rose loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Mrs. Patterson from next door had appeared on her porch. Mr. Chin was pretending to water his already drenched lawn. So take your stuff and go. Find some desperate guy who'll settle for damaged goods, but don't come back here. Trevor, please. Naomi hated the begging in her voice but couldn't stop it. Can we at least talk inside? Don't do this in front of the whole neighborhood. Why not? I'm done hiding how I feel. I'm done pretending you're enough. He descended the steps, forcing Naomi backward. I want you gone in the next hour. If you're not, I'm calling the police and telling them you're trespassing. Trespassing? My name is on the deed. Not for long. My lawyer's already filing the paperwork. You'll get whatever the court says you deserve, which won't be much considering you couldn't even perform your basic function as a wife. Brittany appeared beside him, her arms snaking around his waist. She looked at Naomi with mock sympathy. This must be so hard for you. But you'll understand eventually. Some women just aren't meant to keep a man. Trevor needs someone who can give him everything. A real woman. The small crowd of neighbors had grown. Naomi saw Mrs. Patterson on her phone, probably texting everyone on the block. Mr. Chin had given up pretending not to watch. The young couple from 3 doors down stood on their lawn, not even hiding their stares. 1 hour, Naomi. That's all you get. Trevor turned and walked back inside, pulling Brittany with him. The door slammed. The blue door Naomi had painted, in the house she had cleaned, on the porch she had decorated. Naomi stood frozen at the bottom of the steps. Her entire life was packed into garbage bags and old suitcases, displayed for everyone to see. Her marriage was over, announced to the world like a public execution. And she had nowhere to go. Her parents had passed 5 years ago. Her sister lived in California with barely enough room for her own family. Her best friend from nursing school had moved to Texas. Naomi had spent so many years focused on being Trevor's wife that she had let other relationships fade. She had made Trevor her whole world, and now that world was ending. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands. Her bank app showed $342. Their joint account showed zero. Trevor had cleared it out. A car pulled up. Not just any car. A sleek black Mercedes that Naomi recognized. It belonged to Donovan Harris, the CEO of Henderson Financial Group, where Trevor worked as a senior analyst. The man Trevor was always trying to impress. The boss Trevor talked about constantly, bragging about how tight they were, how Donovan trusted him with important accounts. Donovan stepped out of the car, his expression shifting from casual to concerned as he took in the scene. Naomi's belongings on the porch. Naomi standing at the bottom of the steps, clearly devastated. The neighbors watching like it was dinner theater. Mrs. Bennett? Donovan walked toward her, his voice gentle. Is everything all right? Naomi wanted to say yes. Wanted to pretend everything was fine. But she couldn't. The dam broke and tears streamed down her face. She couldn't speak. Could only gesture helplessly at the bags at the door, at the ruins of her life. Donovan's jaw tightened. He looked at the house, then back at Naomi. Where's Trevor? Inside. The word came out broken. With his girlfriend. He said no man would want me. He said I'm damaged goods. He gave me an hour to leave. Something dangerous flashed in Donovan's eyes. He said what? Before Naomi could answer, Trevor appeared back on the porch, carrying 2 more bags. He froze when he saw Donovan. Mr. Harris. I didn't know you were, this isn't what it looks like. It looks like you're throwing your wife out onto the street. Donovan's voice was ice cold. It looks like you're publicly humiliating her in front of your neighbors. Is that not what's happening here, Bennett? Trevor's face went red. This is a private matter, sir. Between me and my wife. It stopped being private when you put her belongings on display for the whole street to see. Donovan turned to Naomi. Mrs. Bennett, do you have somewhere safe to go? Naomi shook her head, not trusting her voice. Then you're coming with me. We'll sort this out properly. Donovan pulled out his phone. I'm calling my driver to help load your things. Now wait just a minute. Trevor started down the steps. No, you wait. Donovan cut him off. You don't talk to her. You don't come near her. And on Monday morning, you and I are going to have a very serious conversation about your behavior and whether Henderson Financial wants to be associated with someone who treats their wife this way. Trevor's face went from red to white. Sir, please, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Mrs. Bennett, if you'll allow me, I have a guest house on my property. You're welcome to stay there as long as you need. No strings attached. Just a safe place while you figure out your next steps. Naomi looked at this man, Trevor's boss, offering her a lifeline when Trevor himself had cut her loose. She looked at the bags on the porch. At Trevor's panicked face. At Brittany watching from the window. She made her decision. Yes, thank you. I'll accept your help. As Donovan's driver arrived and began loading her belongings, Naomi walked past Trevor without looking at him. She heard him calling after her, his voice suddenly desperate, but she didn't turn around. She got into Donovan's car and watched her old life fade in the rearview mirror. She didn't know what came next, but anything had to be better than what she was leaving behind. The guest house was nicer than any place Naomi had ever lived. It sat behind Donovan's main house, a small cottage with its own kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom. The furniture was simple but expensive. The kind of place that probably cost more per month than she made in 3. The linens are fresh, Donovan said, setting down the last of her bags. Kitchen is stocked with basics. If you need anything else, the main house is just across the garden. My housekeeper, Mrs. Rodriguez, comes 3 times a week. She'll make sure you have everything you need. Naomi stood in the middle of the living room, still wearing her scrubs, still processing that her life had completely changed in the span of 2 hours. Mr. Harris, I don't know how to thank you. I'll start looking for an apartment tomorrow. I won't impose on your kindness longer than necessary. Naomi. He waited until she looked at him. You're not imposing. And please call me Donovan. Mr. Harris is what my employees call me, and you're not my employee. But Trevor is. Won't this look bad? Him working for you while his wife is living on your property? Donovan's expression hardened. Trevor should have thought about that before he kicked you out in front of the entire neighborhood. What he did tonight was cruel and public. The fact that you're accepting help from someone who offered it doesn't reflect badly on you. It reflects badly on him. Naomi sank onto the couch, exhaustion hitting her all at once. She had worked a 12-hour shift at the hospital. She had come home to her marriage ending. She had been publicly humiliated. And now she was in a stranger's guest house, dependent on the charity of her husband's boss. I don't understand how this happened, she whispered. This morning, everything was normal. He kissed me goodbye. He said he'd see me tonight. How did I miss the signs that he was planning this? Donovan sat in the chair across from her, his expression softening. People who plan to hurt us get very good at hiding it. This isn't your fault. He said no man would want me. The words hurt to speak. He said pregnancy damaged me. That I'm used up. He's wrong. Donovan's voice was firm. And cruel. And from what I saw tonight, he's also a coward who couldn't even end things privately. He had to make a spectacle of it. Naomi looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. She had met Donovan a handful of times at company events. Trevor was always on his best behavior around him, always trying to impress him. Donovan was in his early 40s, well-dressed, well-spoken. The kind of man who commanded respect without demanding it. Why are you helping me? She asked. You barely know me. Because it's the right thing to do. Because I was raised to help people who need it. And because... He paused, choosing his words carefully. Because I know what it's like to be betrayed by someone you trusted. My ex-wife had an affair with my former business partner. They cleaned out several accounts before I caught them. So I understand what you're going through, at least partially. I'm sorry. That must have been terrible. It was. But it also taught me who my real friends were and showed me I was stronger than I thought. You'll find the same thing. He stood. Get some rest. Tomorrow will help you figure out your next steps. But tonight just breathe. You're safe here. After he left, Naomi sat in the silence of the guest house. She pulled out her phone and stared at it. No calls from Trevor. No texts. No apologies. Nothing. She opened her photos. Years of pictures. Their wedding day. Holidays. Vacations. The ultrasound photo from the baby they lost. She had kept it in a frame beside their bed. Was it still there? Or had Trevor thrown it away like he had thrown away their marriage? Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Brittany. Just wanted you to know Trevor is way happier now. You should move on too. Find someone desperate enough to want you well. Naomi stared at the message. The cruelty of it. The deliberate misspellings to seem casual while delivering maximum hurt. She started to type a response, then stopped. She blocked the number instead. Whatever Brittany wanted, Naomi wouldn't give it to her. Another text, this time from a familiar number. Mrs. Patterson, her former neighbor. Sweetie, I'm so sorry about what happened. If you need anything, please let me know. I always thought Trevor was trouble. You're better off without him. Naomi almost laughed. Mrs. Patterson had never said a word before. Now that the drama was public, everyone had an opinion. She turned off her phone and walked to the bedroom. The bed was made with white linens that probably cost more than her entire bedroom set had. She fell onto it fully clothed and finally let herself cry. Not the quiet tears from earlier. The deep, body-shaking sobs of someone whose entire world had shattered. She cried for the marriage that ended. For the baby she had lost and the husband who had blamed her for it. For the years she had spent trying to be enough, never realizing she was enough all along. Trevor just wasn't capable of seeing it. Eventually the tears stopped. Naomi lay in the dark, listening to unfamiliar sounds. This cottage. This life. Everything was different now. Her phone buzzed again. She almost ignored it, but something made her check. An email notification. From their joint bank account. Account closure notice. Final balance, $0. Trevor had closed their joint account. Not only emptied it, but closed it entirely. Naomi logged into her individual account. $342. That was all she had. She thought about their house. Her name was on the deed, but Trevor had said his lawyer was filing paperwork. What did that mean? Could he really just take the house? Panic started to build in her chest. She didn't know anything about divorce. She didn't have a lawyer. She didn't even know where to start. Her phone rang. She almost didn't answer, but the caller ID showed it was Donovan. Naomi? I saw the lights still on in the guest house. Is everything all right? He closed our bank account. The words tumbled out. And he said his lawyer is filing paperwork about the house. I don't know what to do. I don't have money for a lawyer. I don't even know how to find a lawyer. First, breathe. Second, don't worry about lawyers right now. I have someone I want you to meet. Her name is Patricia Montoya, and she's the best family law attorney in the state. She owes me a favor. Let me reach out to her tonight, see if she can meet with you this week. I can't afford Dash. She'll work with you on payment. Trust me. Right now you need to rest. Tomorrow we'll make a plan. But tonight just rest. After they hung up, Naomi lay back down. She still felt lost. Still felt scared. But for the first time since seeing her bags on the porch, She didn't feel completely alone. She thought about Donovan's kindness, about how he had appeared at exactly the right moment, about how he hadn't hesitated to help, even though it could complicate his professional relationship with Trevor. Trevor, her husband, soon-to-be ex-husband. The thought didn't hurt as much as she expected. Maybe because under the pain of rejection was a growing sense of something else. Anger. Not the hot, explosive kind. The cold, calculating kind. The kind that made her think about all the years she had supported Trevor's career. All the nights she had worked double shifts so he could take graduate classes. All the time she had put his needs first. What had he done with that support? Used it to build a life for himself and then kicked her out of it the moment she was no longer useful. Naomi sat up. She opened her laptop and started searching. Divorce laws. Asset division. Financial abuse in marriage. Her nursing training had taught her to research symptoms and treatments. Now she would research how to protect herself. By 3 in the morning, she had filled a notebook with information. By 4, she had a list of questions for this lawyer Donovan was connecting her with. By 5, she had created a timeline of her marriage, noting every major financial decision, every shared account, every asset they owned together. When the sun rose over the guest house, Naomi was still awake. But she wasn't crying anymore. She was planning. And planning felt much better than crying. Her phone buzzed with a text from Donovan. Patricia can meet you at 10 a.m. tomorrow at her office. I'll drive you. Get some sleep. Naomi texted back a simple thank you. Then she finally let herself sleep, knowing that when she woke up, she would start fighting back. Naomi woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then it all came back. Trevor. Brittany. The bags on the porch. She was in Donovan's guest house because she had nowhere else to go. Her phone showed 37 missed calls. All from Trevor. She deleted the notification and got up. The cottage had a small but beautiful bathroom with a walk-in shower. Naomi stood under the hot water for a long time, letting it wash away the sweat and tears from yesterday. When she finally emerged, she felt almost human again. She had one clean nursing uniform in her bags and a few casual clothes. Everything else would need to be washed. She pulled on jeans and a simple blue shirt, then walked to the main house like Donovan had instructed. Mrs. Rodriguez, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, answered the door. You must be Naomi. Mr. Harris told me you'd be staying in the guest house. Come in, come in. I've made breakfast. The kitchen was enormous, all stainless steel and marble countertops. Mrs. Rodriguez had prepared eggs, toast, fruit, and coffee. Real coffee, not the instant kind Naomi usually made. Donovan already left for the office, Mrs. Rodriguez said, pouring Naomi a cup. But he said to tell you he'll be back at 9:30 to drive you to your appointment. Naomi ate slowly, her stomach still unsettled from yesterday's events. As she ate, Mrs. Rodriguez bustled around the kitchen, occasionally glancing at her with sympathy. I've been working for Mr. Harris for 8 years, Mrs. Rodriguez finally said. He's a good man. If he offered you help, he means it. You don't need to worry about being a burden. I barely know him. This feels like too much to accept from someone I've only met a few times. Some people are just kind. Mr. Harris is one of them. After his divorce, he could have become bitter. Instead, he became more determined to help people when he could. You're not the first person he's helped, and you won't be the last. That made Naomi feel slightly better. She finished breakfast and returned to the guest house. She still had 3 hours before Donovan came back. 3 hours to figure out what questions to ask a divorce lawyer. She opened her laptop and logged into the email account she shared with Trevor. They had set it up years ago for important documents and shared subscriptions. Trevor had probably forgotten about it. Naomi's hands shook as she typed in the password. The inbox loaded. She scrolled through recent emails, looking for anything that might explain what had happened. She found it in a folder labeled Personal. Email after email between Trevor and Brittany, going back 2 years. 2 years. Naomi's vision blurred as she read them. Plans for secret meetups. Complaints about Naomi. Explicit messages that made her stomach turn. But worse than the affair was what else she found. Trevor had been systematically moving money out of their joint account for months. Small amounts at first. $50 here. 100 there. Then larger amounts. 500. 1,000. All transferred to an account Naomi didn't recognize. She kept digging. Found statements for credit cards she didn't know existed. Found receipts for an apartment in Trevor's name only. Found insurance documents showing Trevor had taken Naomi off their policies 3 months ago. He had been planning this for months. Maybe longer. While Naomi worked 12-hour shifts, while she tried to save their marriage, while she went to therapy to deal with the grief of losing their baby, Trevor had been building an exit strategy. The emails to Brittany talked about it openly. Just need to time it right, Trevor had written. Get everything in my name, then cut her loose. She won't even see it coming. Naomi's hands clenched into fists. She wasn't just hurt anymore. She was furious. She downloaded everything. Every email. Every statement. Every document. She saved it all to a flash drive in her cloud storage. Evidence. That's what Patricia the lawyer would need. Evidence of the affair, the financial abuse, the premeditation. One email stood out. From 3 weeks ago. Trevor to Brittany, boss's annual party next month. I'll bring you as my date. Time to stop hiding anyway. Naomi can find out with everyone else. Who cares what she thinks? The boss's annual party. Trevor had been planning to humiliate Naomi at Donovan's own event. To bring his mistress and parade her around in front of everyone who knew Naomi was Trevor's wife. But Trevor had gotten impatient. Or maybe Brittany had pushed him. Either way, they had moved up the timeline. Naomi kept searching. She found the deed to their house. Both names were on it, just like she remembered. She found their mortgage statements showing they had significant equity. She found documentation of improvements she had paid for with money from her nursing bonuses. She found their marriage license. She stared at it, at her signature next to Trevor's. At the date, 7 years ago, when she had believed in forever. Her phone rang. Trevor again. She let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a text appeared. Naomi, we need to talk. What you did yesterday was childish. Taking off with my boss like that? Really? You embarrassed me. Come get your stuff and let's be adults about this. Naomi laughed, a harsh sound in the quiet cottage. She embarrassed him? He had kicked her out in front of the neighborhood and she embarrassed him? She didn't respond. Instead, she kept documenting everything. She found his work schedule and compared it to the timestamps on his emails to Brittany. He had been lying about overtime, using those hours to see her instead. She found expense reports Trevor had submitted to Henderson Financial. Dinners he claimed were client meetings. Hotel stays he claimed were business travel. All with Brittany. Trevor wasn't just a cheating husband. He was committing fraud against his employer. Naomi sat back, overwhelmed by the amount of betrayal. 2 years of lies. 2 years of theft. 2 years of planning to destroy her while pretending to love her. A knock at the door made her jump. She opened it to find Donovan standing there in a business suit, looking concerned. Mrs. Rodriguez said you've been in here all morning. Are you all right? I found it all. Naomi's voice was steady despite the tears on her face. The affair. The hidden money. The fraud. Everything. Fraud. Trevor's been lying on his expense reports. Claiming personal expenses with his girlfriend as business costs. I have dates, receipts, everything. She handed him the flash drive. I think you need to see this. Donovan took the drive, his expression darkening as he skimmed through the files on his phone. This is serious. This is very serious. I know. I documented everything. For the lawyer and... She hesitated. And for you if you need it. Trevor's been stealing from Henderson Financial for months. We'll deal with Trevor later. Right now, we need to get you to Patricia's office. Donovan checked his watch. We need to leave in 10 minutes. Are you ready? Naomi nodded. She grabbed the notebook she'd filled with questions and another copy of all the evidence. As they walked to Donovan's car, she felt different than she had yesterday. Yesterday she had been a victim, discarded and humiliated. Today she was a woman with evidence, with documentation, with proof of every lie her husband had told. Today she was ready to fight back. Patricia Montoya's office occupied the top floor of a downtown high-rise. The waiting room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Everything about the space screamed expensive, and Naomi's stomach dropped thinking about how much this would cost. A woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a sharper suit emerged from an inner office. Mrs. Bennett? I'm Patricia Montoya. Please come in. Donovan squeezed Naomi's shoulder. I'll wait here. Take all the time you need. Patricia's office was all business. Files lined the walls in perfect order. Her desk held a computer and nothing else. She gestured for Naomi to sit, then took her own seat. Donovan called me last night and explained your situation. Before we begin, I need to be clear about something. I normally charge $400 an hour. But Donovan and I have an arrangement. He helped me with a situation years ago, and I've been waiting to return the favor. So for you, we'll work out a payment plan you can afford. My goal is to get you what you're owed, not to bankrupt you in the process. Understood. Naomi felt tears prick her eyes. Yes. Thank you. Good. Now tell me everything from the beginning. Naomi started with yesterday with coming home to find her bags packed. She described Trevor's cruelty, his words about her body, his public humiliation. Patricia took notes, her expression neutral but her pen moving fast. Then Naomi pulled out the flash drive. I found something else. Evidence of his affair, financial abuse, and fraud against his employer. Patricia loaded the files onto her computer. Her neutral expression shifted to something harder as she read. How long did you say this affair has been going on? 2 years based on the emails. And he's been moving money out of your joint accounts? Yes. Into an account in his name only. $23,000 over the past 8 months. Patricia made more notes. And you have documentation of improvements you made to the marital home with your own earnings? Yes. I paid for the kitchen renovation with money from a nursing bonus. $15,000. I have the receipts. Good. What about other assets? Cars, investments, retirement accounts. Naomi walked Patricia through everything. The car they owned together. Trevor's 401k from Henderson Financial. A small investment account Naomi had started with inheritance money from her parents. He told me his lawyer was already filing paperwork about the house. Can he do that? Can he just take it? Both your names are on the deed? Yes. Then no, he can't just take it. Not without a court order, and no judge will grant that given the circumstances. Patricia leaned back in her chair. Mrs. Bennett, you have a very strong case. Your husband has committed adultery, which in this state impacts asset division. He's committed financial abuse by hiding marital assets. He's made no effort to be discreet about his affair. And based on what I'm seeing here, he's also committed fraud against his employer. What does that mean for the divorce? It means you're going to walk away with significantly more than half. The house, most of the savings, alimony, and quite possibly compensation for emotional distress. Patricia pulled up a document on her computer. I'm going to file for divorce on your behalf today. I'm also filing for a temporary restraining order to keep Trevor away from you. And I'm freezing all joint accounts effective immediately so he can't move any more money. Naomi felt lightheaded. That fast. That fast. When someone shows you who they are through their actions, you don't give them time to hide assets or build a defense. You strike while the evidence is clear. Patricia printed several documents. I need you to sign these. They give me authority to act on your behalf and file the necessary paperwork. Naomi signed, her hand steadier than she expected. What happens next? Next, Trevor gets served with divorce papers probably tomorrow. He'll panic. He'll call you, text you, maybe show up wherever you're staying. Don't engage. Don't respond. Everything goes through me from now on. Patricia handed Naomi a business card. This is my cell number. If he contacts you, if anything happens, you call me immediately. Day or night. There's one more thing. Naomi pulled out the folder of Trevor's expense reports and emails showing his fraud. Should I give this to Donovan? It's his company that Trevor's been stealing from. Patricia considered. That's up to you. It will likely result in Trevor losing his job, which could impact his ability to pay alimony. But it's also the right thing to do, and it protects Henderson Financial from further fraud. Trevor said last night that no man would want me because I'm damaged goods. Because I lost our baby. Naomi's voice hardened. He deserves to lose everything just like he tried to take everything from me. Then give Donovan the evidence. I'll document it as part of the divorce case as well. It shows a pattern of deception and financial misconduct that will strengthen our position. They spent another hour going over details. Patricia explained the divorce process, the timeline, what to expect. She explained that Trevor might try to claim Naomi was having an affair with Donovan, given that she was staying on his property. Is that going to be a problem? Naomi asked. Only if it's true, and I don't think it is. Donovan's helping you as a friend would. There's nothing inappropriate about accepting help when you need it. And frankly, even if it were true, it wouldn't matter much legally. Trevor's affair started 2 years ago and is well documented. Any claim he makes about you would look like desperation. When Naomi finally emerged from Patricia's office, she felt exhausted but empowered. Donovan stood immediately, searching her face. How did it go? She's filing today. Everything's in motion. Naomi held up the folder of Trevor's expense reports. And I have something you need to see. About what Trevor's been doing at Henderson Financial. They went to a coffee shop nearby. Naomi laid out the evidence while Donovan read through it, his expression growing darker with each page. He's been doing this for how long? At least a year. Maybe more. He used company credit cards for personal expenses with Brittany. Hotels, dinners, shopping. Then filed them as business expenses with fake client names. Donovan pulled out his phone. I need to call our CFO. This is embezzlement. This is criminal. Will he go to jail? I don't know. But he'll definitely lose his job, and will pursue civil charges for the money he stole. Donovan looked at her. Are you sure you want to do this? It's going to make everything worse between you two. It's already as bad as it can get. He kicked me out. He called me damaged goods in front of the neighborhood. He's been stealing from me for months. Why should I protect him? You shouldn't. I just want to make sure you're ready for the fallout. Naomi thought about Trevor's face when she drove away yesterday. About Brittany smirking from the window. About the years she had wasted trying to be enough for someone who was never going to appreciate her. I'm ready. Do whatever you need to do. Donovan made the call right there in the coffee shop. Naomi listened as he explained the situation to his CFO, outlining the evidence and requesting an immediate investigation. When he hung up, he looked grim. They're putting Trevor on immediate suspension. He'll be called in tomorrow morning for an interview with our legal team. Depending on what they find, we'll file a police report. Good. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Donovan spoke, his voice gentle. How are you really doing? With all of this? Naomi considered the question. Yesterday she had been devastated. Today she was angry. Tomorrow she might be something else entirely. But right now, sitting in this coffee shop with evidence of her husband's betrayal spread across the table, she felt something unexpected. Oh, I'm doing better than I thought I would, she admitted. Yesterday I felt like my life was over. Today I feel like maybe it's just beginning. Donovan smiled. That's the right attitude. Trevor thought he could discard you and move on without consequences. He's about to learn he was very wrong. Naomi's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She opened it and immediately wished she hadn't. A photo of Trevor and Brittany in bed together, both smiling at the camera. The message below read, "He's mine now. Get over it." Naomi handed the phone to Donovan without a word. His jaw clenched. Block this number. Save the message and send it to Patricia. It's harassment and it's evidence of the affair. They really want to twist the knife, don't they? They're desperate. They know what's coming even if they don't want to admit it. People who are secure in their choices don't send messages like this. They're trying to hurt you because they're scared. Naomi blocked the number and forwarded the message to Patricia. Then she looked at Donovan. Thank you. For everything. I don't know what I would have done without your help. You would have figured it out. You're stronger than you think. He checked his watch. Ready to head back? Mrs. Rodriguez is making lunch and I think you could use a decent meal and some rest. On the drive back to Donovan's property, Naomi watched the city pass by. She thought about her life 48 hours ago. She had been Mrs. Trevor Bennett, nurse, loyal wife. She had been someone who put everyone else first and accepted crumbs of affection in return. Now she was just Naomi. And maybe that was exactly who she needed to be. Her phone rang. Trevor. She declined the call. It rang again immediately. Declined. Then a text. You're making a huge mistake. Call off your lawyer and we can work this out like adults. Naomi blocked Trevor's number too. Then she turned off her phone entirely. Good choice, Donovan said. The next few days are going to be tough. Trevor's going to panic when he gets served, when he gets called into Henderson, when he realizes you're not backing down. But you have a plan now. You have support. You're not alone. I keep waiting to feel sad, Naomi admitted. About the marriage ending. But mostly I just feel angry. Is that wrong? Anger is healthy as long as you channel it productively. And from what I've seen, you're doing exactly that. You're not seeking revenge. You're seeking justice. There's a difference. They pulled into Donovan's driveway. The main house and guest cottage looked peaceful in the afternoon sun. It felt surreal that this was Naomi's life now. One day at a time, Donovan said as if reading her thoughts. You don't have to figure everything out today. Just take it one step at a time. Naomi nodded and headed to the guest house. Inside, she sat on the couch and finally let herself process everything that had happened in the past 2 days. Her marriage was over. Her husband had betrayed her in every way possible. She was living in a stranger's guest house and facing a divorce she never wanted. But she also had a plan. She had a lawyer. She had evidence. She had support. And most importantly, she had something Trevor would never have. The truth on her side, and the determination to make sure justice was served. Tomorrow, Trevor would be served with divorce papers. Tomorrow he would be called in to answer for his fraud. Tomorrow his carefully constructed lies would start to crumble. Naomi couldn't wait to see it happen. The next morning, Naomi woke to her phone buzzing with blocked number alerts. Trevor had clearly figured out she'd blocked him and was trying different numbers to get through. She deleted all the notifications without reading them and got ready for her shift at the hospital. She was halfway through her route on the pediatric floor when her supervisor, Helen, called her into the office. "Naomi, I just got a strange phone call. A man claiming to be your husband, saying there's a family emergency and demanding your schedule." Helen's expression was concerned but wary. "He was very aggressive when I wouldn't give him the information. Is everything all right?" Naomi's face heated with embarrassment. "I'm going through a divorce. My soon-to-be ex-husband is not handling it well. I'm sorry he called here. It won't happen again. Don't apologize. I didn't give him anything. Hospital policy protects our staff information." Helen paused. "But Naomi, if you need time off to deal with this, you can take it. We'll work out the scheduling." "Thank you, but I'd rather work. It keeps me focused on something other than the divorce." "I understand. But if you need anything, my door is open." Naomi returned to her rounds, grateful that Helen hadn't pried further. She lost herself in the familiar routine of checking vitals, administering medications, comforting worried parents. For a few hours, she could pretend her personal life wasn't falling apart. During her lunch break, Patricia called. Trevor was served this morning at his workplace. He didn't take it well. Patricia's voice was matter of fact. "He called my office 6 times, yelling about how you're trying to destroy him. I've documented everything. Also, Henderson Financial's legal team interviewed him today about the expense fraud. They've terminated his employment effective immediately and are filing criminal charges." Naomi sat down hard on a bench in the hospital courtyard. "Criminal charges? I didn't think it would go that far." "He stole over $30,000 from his employer through fraudulent expense reports. That's not just firing territory. That's criminal fraud." Patricia's voice softened slightly. "I know this is a lot. But Trevor made his choices. He's facing consequences for those choices. That's not on you. I know. It just feels big. It is big. Which is why you need to be prepared. Trevor's going to escalate. He's lost his job, his wife filed for divorce, and he's facing criminal charges. People in that position don't think rationally. If he contacts you, if he shows up anywhere, you call the police immediately. Don't try to handle it yourself." After lunch, Naomi threw herself into work. She had 3 more hours on her shift. 3 more hours before she had to think about Trevor and divorce lawyers and criminal charges. But at 3 o'clock, Helen found her again. "Naomi, your husband is in the lobby demanding to see you. Security is keeping him downstairs, but he's making a scene. I've called the police." Naomi's hands shook as she followed Helen to her office where they could watch the lobby cameras. There was Trevor, gesturing wildly at the security guards. Even from the camera feed, she could see his face was red, his clothes disheveled. How did he know I was working today? He probably guessed based on your usual schedule. "The police are almost here. You don't have to go down there." But Naomi found herself wanting to. Not to talk to Trevor, but to show him that he didn't scare her. That he couldn't disrupt her life just because his own was falling apart. "I'll go down. With security present." Helen looked uncertain but nodded. They rode the elevator down together. Trevor spotted Naomi immediately and pushed past one of the security guards. "Naomi, finally. Do you have any idea what you've done? They arrested me. They actually arrested me at my own office." 2 police officers entered the lobby. One immediately moved between Trevor and Naomi. "Sir, you need to step back. Now. This is my wife. I have a right to talk to my wife. Not when there's a restraining order filed against you." The officer checked his tablet. "Trevor Bennett? You were served with a temporary restraining order this morning requiring you to stay at least 500 feet away from Naomi Bennett. This hospital is her place of employment. You're in violation." Trevor's face went from red to white. "Restraining order? Naomi, what the hell?" "Sir, turn around and place your hands behind your back." "No. This is insane." "Naomi, tell them this is a misunderstanding." The officers moved in. Trevor tried to back away, but they were faster. Within seconds he was in handcuffs, still shouting, "You're destroying my life. Everything I worked for. You're ruining me because you're jealous and bitter and can't accept that I found someone better." Naomi watched calmly as they led him away. She felt strangely detached from the whole scene. This man, screaming about his ruined life, had once been the person she planned to grow old with. Helen touched her arm. Are you okay? I think so. I should call my lawyer. Back in Helen's office, Naomi called Patricia and explained what happened. Patricia's response was immediate. That was the best thing he could have done for our case. He violated a restraining order in front of witnesses and police officers. He'll be charged with that on top of everything else. The judge is going to see him as volatile and potentially dangerous. It strengthens our position significantly. He's really falling apart, isn't he? He is. And that's not your problem to fix. You focus on your healing and rebuilding. Let Trevor deal with the consequences of his own actions. After the call, Helen insisted Naomi go home early. You've had enough drama for one day. Go rest. We'll see you tomorrow for your regular shift. Donovan was working from home when Naomi arrived back at the property. He emerged from his study when he heard her come in. I heard about what happened at the hospital. Are you all right? How did you already know? Patricia called me. She thought you might need someone to talk to. He gestured to his study. Come on. I was just about to take a coffee break anyway. They sat in his study, a warm room lined with books and comfortable furniture. Donovan poured them both coffee from a carafe on his desk. This must be overwhelming, he said. Everything happening so fast. It is. But also, Trevor made this bed. He kicked me out. He stole from me. He stole from you and Henderson Financial. He's the one who decided to confront me at my workplace in front of everyone. I didn't make him do any of that. No, you didn't. But I imagine watching someone self-destruct is still difficult, even when they deserve it. Naomi sipped her coffee. Can I ask you something? Why are you being so kind to me? I keep trying to understand it. We barely knew each other before all this happened. Donovan was quiet for a moment. When I went through my divorce, I had family and friends who supported me. I had the financial resources to hire the best lawyers, to take time off work, to rebuild. Not everyone has that. I saw you standing there with your life in garbage bags, and I saw someone who needed help. If I didn't offer it, who would I be? Most people would have just driven past. Then most people are wrong. He set down his coffee cup. Besides, you remind me of someone. My sister. She went through something similar years ago. Her husband left her with nothing, and she had no one to help. By the time I learned what had happened, she'd already lost everything. I couldn't help her then. Maybe helping you is my way of making up for that. Where is she now? Your sister? She rebuilt her life. Went back to school, got a degree, started her own business. She's doing well now. But it took years, and it was much harder than it should have been because she had to do it alone. Donovan looked at Naomi. You don't have to do this alone. That's the only difference I'm trying to make. Naomi felt tears prick her eyes but blinked them back. Thank you. For real. I won't forget this kindness. I'm not keeping score. Now have you eaten? Mrs. Rodriguez made enough dinner for an army. They ate together in Donovan's dining room, and for the first time since her life imploded, Naomi felt almost normal. They talked about work, about books, about everything except Trevor and divorce and restraining orders. After dinner, Naomi returned to the guest house. She pulled out her laptop and started looking at her finances. With Trevor's job gone, there wouldn't be any income from him. But Patricia had said Naomi was likely to get the house and most of the savings. If that happened, she could sell the house, pay off the mortgage, and have enough for a fresh start. She started researching apartments. Something small, affordable, close to the hospital. She didn't need much. Just a place that was hers, where no one could tell her she wasn't wanted. Her phone rang. An unknown number. She almost declined it, but something made her answer. Mrs. Bennett? This is Detective Carson with the police department. I'm calling about the incident at your workplace today and the restraining order violation. Naomi's heart raced. Is Trevor okay? He's been released on bail. But I wanted to inform you that as part of his bail conditions, he's been ordered to have no contact with you whatsoever. If he tries to reach out through any means, you need to report it immediately. Do you understand? Yes. Thank you for telling me. Also, I understand you're going through a divorce. If you need any additional protection, such as a security system or a panic button, we have resources available. I'm staying somewhere safe for now, but I'll keep that in mind. After the call, Naomi sat in the quiet cottage and let herself feel everything. Fear, relief, anger, hope. It all swirled together until she couldn't separate one emotion from another. A knock at the door made her jump. She looked through the window and saw Donovan standing there with a large box. She opened the door. What's this? Security cameras. For the cottage. If Trevor shows up, you'll know immediately, and so will I. My property manager is coming tomorrow to install them. I hope that's okay. Naomi felt a rush of gratitude so strong it nearly knocked her over. Thank you. I don't know how I'll ever repay all of this. You don't need to repay it. Just focus on healing and moving forward. That's all the thanks I need. That night, Naomi lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her life had been completely upended in less than a week. But somehow she was still standing. Still fighting. Still moving forward. Trevor had tried to break her. He'd told her no man would want her, that she was damaged goods, that she was worth nothing. But every day she was proving him wrong. She was building a case. Making plans. Creating a future that didn't include him. And that future was starting to look better than anything she'd had with Trevor anyway. Naomi spent the weekend organizing her evidence and meeting with Patricia to prepare for the divorce hearing. By Monday morning, she felt more in control of her life than she had in years. She arrived at the hospital early, ready to lose herself in work again. But at 10 o'clock, Helen called her into the office once more. Naomi, I just got an interesting call. From Henderson Financial. They want to interview you about your ex-husband's employment there. Something about fraud and misrepresented expenses. Helen's expression was curious. Did you know about this? I'm the one who gave them the evidence. Trevor was using company credit cards for personal expenses with his girlfriend, then filing them as business costs. Helen let out a low whistle. I know you're going through a divorce, but I have to say, I admire your courage. A lot of people would have protected their ex to avoid making things messy. Trevor stopped deserving my protection the moment he kicked me out and called me damaged goods in front of the entire neighborhood. Fair enough. The investigator wants to meet with you during your lunch break if you're available. They said it's voluntary but helpful for their case. Naomi agreed. At noon, she met with a woman named Jennifer Flores in one of the hospital's private conference rooms. Jennifer was Henderson Financial's head of internal investigations. Mrs. Bennett, thank you for meeting with me. I understand you provided evidence of fraudulent expense reports filed by Trevor Bennett. Yes. I found them while documenting evidence for my divorce lawyer. Jennifer pulled out a thick folder. We've been conducting our own investigation based on your information. What we found is extensive fraud going back 18 months. Trevor claimed business expenses totaling nearly $40,000, all of which were actually personal expenses with his girlfriend Brittany Shaw. 40,000? I thought it was 30. That was our initial estimate. The deeper we dug, the more we found. Here's where it gets interesting though. Brittany Shaw also works for Henderson Financial. She's in marketing and she's been helping Trevor falsify expense reports by creating fake client names and meeting descriptions. Naomi sat back. So she's involved in the fraud too? Very much so. We've suspended her as well and are filing charges against both of them. But I need to verify some of the evidence you provided. Can you walk me through how you obtained these documents? Naomi explained about the shared email account, about downloading everything to a flash drive, about the timeline she'd created matching Trevor's fake business trips with his emails to Brittany. Jennifer took detailed notes. This is excellent work. You've basically built our entire case for us. The district attorney is going to love this. Good. They both deserve whatever's coming to them. I appreciate your cooperation. Now, I have to ask, are you aware that Trevor has been telling people at Henderson that you're having an affair with our CEO, Donovan Harris? Naomi's face heated. What? He's been claiming that the reason you have such strong evidence is because you're romantically involved with Mr. Harris and you're both conspiring to destroy him. He says you've been having the affair for months, and that's why you were so quick to leave him. That's not true. Donovan helped me because Trevor kicked me out and I had nowhere to go. There's nothing romantic between us. I believe you. So does everyone else who's looked at the evidence. Trevor's claims don't hold up under scrutiny. But I wanted you to be aware that he's spreading this narrative. Jennifer closed her folder. One more thing. We're holding a meeting this afternoon with all senior staff to address the fraud and announce the terminations. Trevor's been banned from the premises, but he's been trying to contact people at the company to tell his side of the story. If he reaches out to you about Henderson Financial or asks you to recant your evidence, please let me know immediately. After Jennifer left, Naomi sat alone in the conference room. Trevor was telling people she was having an affair with Donovan. Of course he was. He couldn't accept that his own actions had destroyed him, so he had to blame someone else. Make himself the victim. She pulled out her phone and texted Donovan. Need to talk. Trevor is spreading rumors about us. His response was immediate. I know. Jennifer Flores briefed me this morning. Don't worry about it. Anyone who believes Trevor at this point isn't worth convincing otherwise. But Naomi did worry. She worried that these rumors would damage Donovan's reputation. She worried that people would think less of him for helping her. She worried that his kindness would cost him something. That evening, after her shift, she went to the main house instead of the guest cottage. Mrs. Rodriguez let her in, and Naomi found Donovan in his study, going through paperwork. "We need to talk," she said. He looked up. "About Trevor's accusations?" "Yes. He's telling people we're having an affair. That we conspire together to ruin him. I don't want my presence here to damage your reputation or your company." Donovan set down his papers. "Naomi, sit down." She sat in the chair across from his desk. "Trevor is a desperate man facing criminal charges, divorce, and the loss of his career. Of course he's going to make up stories to explain why his life is falling apart. It's easier than accepting responsibility for his own actions." Donovan leaned forward. "But here's what matters. I don't care what Trevor says. I don't care what rumors he spreads. I helped you because it was the right thing to do, and I'd do it again. If people want to believe Trevor's lies, that says more about them than it does about us. But your business Henderson Financial is built on integrity and trust. We just fired 2 employees for fraud and filed criminal charges against them. We're transparent about what happened and why. Anyone who knows me knows I wouldn't risk the company's reputation for anything, let alone an affair with an employee's wife." He smiled slightly. "Besides, you're not my type." Naomi blinked. "I'm not. I prefer brunettes. You're lovely, don't get me wrong. But there's no chemistry between us and we both know it. We're friends. That's all we've ever been and all we're ever going to be." Naomi felt relief wash over her. Not because she'd been worried about romantic feelings, but because she'd been worried about complicating an already complicated situation. "Okay, good. I just needed to hear you say that. Does Trevor's rumor bother you?" "Only because it's another lie from a man who's done nothing but lie to me for years. I'm tired of his lies affecting my life." "Then don't let them. Live your truth. Let Trevor live in his fantasy world where he's the victim. Eventually, reality will catch up with him." Donovan glanced at his computer. "Actually, speaking of reality catching up, I got an interesting email today. From your husband's lawyer." "Trevor got a lawyer?" "Apparently. A guy named Robert Mitchell. Not a great reputation, but he's cheap and willing to take on hopeless cases." Donovan turned his screen so Naomi could see the email. "He's demanding I evict you from my property and cease all contact with you or face a lawsuit for alienation of affection." Naomi read the email, her anger building with each word. "Can he actually sue you for that?" "He can try. But alienation of affection is nearly impossible to prove in this state, and Trevor would have to show that our relationship caused the breakdown of your marriage. Given that your marriage ended because of Trevor's 2-year affair and financial abuse, he doesn't have a case." Donovan closed the laptop. "My lawyer already responded. Basically told Mitchell to pound sand. But I wanted you to know what's happening. This is getting out of control. No, this is Trevor panicking. He's throwing everything at the wall hoping something sticks. It won't. You have evidence, documentation, and truth on your side. He has lies and desperation." Naomi stood. "I should probably go. I don't want to take up more of your evening." "Naomi, wait." Donovan stood too. "I want you to know something. You're not a burden. You're not causing problems for me or my company. You're a person who needed help, and I'm glad I could provide it. Don't let Trevor make you feel guilty for accepting kindness. That's what he wants. How do you always know the right thing to say? Years of therapy after my own divorce." He smiled. "Seriously though, you're doing great. You're working, you're building your case, you're not letting Trevor intimidate you. That takes strength. Give yourself credit for that." Back in the guest house, Naomi made dinner and tried to relax. But her mind kept circling back to Trevor's escalating behavior. The restraining order violation. The false accusations. The desperate lawsuits. Patricia had warned her that Trevor would escalate. Naomi just hadn't expected it to happen so fast or so publicly. Her phone rang. A known number again. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello? Mrs. Bennett? This is Robert Mitchell, your husband's attorney. I think we need to talk. My attorney is Patricia Montoya. If you have something to say, you can say it to her. I'd prefer to speak with you directly. Woman to woman, so to speak. You're not a woman. Figure of speech. Look, Mrs. Bennett, this whole situation has gotten out of hand. My client is willing to make a generous offer to settle the divorce quickly and quietly. You get the house, he keeps his retirement accounts, and you both walk away clean. No more fighting, no more lawyers, no more drama. Your client kicked me out of my house, stole money from our joint accounts, and had a 2-year affair. Why would I accept anything he offers? Because the alternative is a long, expensive court battle that will cost you money you don't have. My client has already secured financing for his legal fees. Can you say the same? Naomi's grip tightened on the phone. I have excellent legal representation, and I have evidence of everything Trevor did. Tell your client I'll see him in court. You're making a mistake, Mrs. Bennett. My client is trying to be reasonable. Your client is trying to avoid consequences. It's not going to work. Goodbye, Mr. Mitchell. She hung up and immediately called Patricia. Trevor's lawyer just called me directly, trying to make a settlement offer. That's completely inappropriate. He knows you have representation. Let me handle this. Patricia sounded furious. What did he offer? Naomi explained. Patricia laughed, a harsh sound. He wants Trevor to keep his retirement accounts? The ones Trevor funded with money that included your income during the marriage? Absolutely not. Don't worry, I'll put Mitchell in his place. After the call, Naomi felt drained. This was her life now. Constant calls, constant threats, constant maneuvering. When would it end? But even as she wondered that, she knew the answer. It would end when the divorce was final. When Trevor had no more power over her. When she was legally and financially free. She just had to hold on until then. That night, she dreamed about the house she'd shared with Trevor. In the dream, she was packing boxes, preparing to move out. But every box she packed would refill itself. Every door she tried to leave through would lock. She was trapped in that house, surrounded by memories of a marriage that had never been real. She woke up sweating, her heart pounding. The guest house was dark and quiet. Safe. She was safe here. Trevor couldn't get to her. She got up and made tea, sitting at the small kitchen table and watching the sun rise over Donovan's garden. In a few hours she'd go to work. She'd take care of her patients. She'd build her case. She'd keep moving forward. Because that's what survivors did. They kept moving forward, one day at a time, until the past couldn't hurt them anymore. And Naomi was definitely a survivor. The divorce hearing was scheduled for a Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. Naomi woke at 5, unable to sleep, her mind racing through everything Patricia had prepared her for. She dressed carefully in a simple navy suit, pulled her hair back and applied minimal makeup. Patricia had advised her to look professional but not overdressed. Let Trevor be the one who shows up desperate and disheveled, she'd said. Donovan drove her to the courthouse. He waited in the lobby while Naomi met with Patricia in a small conference room. Remember, Patricia said, going over the key points one last time, Trevor's lawyer is going to try to make this about you leaving him for Donovan. Don't engage. Don't get defensive. Just answer the questions honestly and let the evidence speak for itself. What if I can't keep my composure? Then take a breath and pause. There's no rush. The judge would rather you take your time than break down on the stand. Patricia squeezed her hand. You're going to do great. You know the truth. The truth will win. They entered the courtroom. Trevor was already there with Robert Mitchell. Trevor looked terrible, his suit wrinkled, his face drawn. When he saw Naomi, something flashed in his eyes. Anger. Resentment. Maybe even regret. Naomi looked away. Brittany was there too, sitting in the gallery. Patricia had explained that she might be called as a witness, even though she wasn't a party to the divorce. When Brittany saw Naomi, she smirked. Naomi ignored her too. Judge Angela Martinez entered and everyone stood. She was a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Patricia had briefed Naomi on her reputation. Fair but intolerant of games or dishonesty. This is the matter of Bennett versus Bennett, Judge Martinez said, reviewing the file. I've read the preliminary filings. This seems fairly straightforward given the evidence submitted, but we're here to ensure both parties are heard. Mr. Mitchell, you may present your client's case. Robert Mitchell stood. He was exactly what Naomi expected. Slick suit, too much hair gel, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Your Honor, my client Trevor Bennett is here today because his wife abandoned their marriage after embarking on an affair with his employer. She then conspired with this employer to have my client fired from his job, arrested, and financially ruined. My client is the true victim here. Patricia didn't even look concerned. She'd warned Naomi this was coming. Judge Martinez looked up. Mr. Mitchell, I've reviewed the evidence submitted by Mrs. Bennett's attorney. There are documented affairs, financial improprieties, and employment fraud. I assume you have evidence to support your claims about Mrs. Bennett? I have my client's testimony, Your Honor. I see. Ms. Montoya? Patricia stood smoothly. Your Honor, I have emails, bank statements, expense reports, witness statements, and police reports, all of which paint a very different picture than Mr. Mitchell's narrative. If I may present the evidence. Please do. For the next hour, Patricia methodically laid out Trevor's betrayal. She showed the emails between Trevor and Brittany going back 2 years. She showed bank statements documenting the $23,000 Trevor had stolen from their joint accounts. She showed the fraudulent expense reports Trevor had filed with Henderson Financial. She showed photos of Naomi's belongings in trash bags on the porch. She had witness statements from Mrs. Patterson and Mr. Chen about Trevor's public humiliation of Naomi. She had the police report from Trevor's restraining order violation at the hospital. And then she called Naomi to the stand. Naomi swore to tell the truth and sat down. Her hands were shaking, but she clasped them in her lap and focused on Patricia. Mrs. Bennett, can you tell the court about the day your marriage ended? Naomi took a breath and began. She described coming home from her nursing shift, finding her belongings on the porch, Trevor's cruel words about her body and the baby they'd lost, his demand that she leave within an hour. He said no man would ever want me because I was damaged goods. He said I couldn't even perform my basic function as a wife because I lost our baby. Naomi's voice cracked, but she continued. He said this in front of our neighbors. He made sure everyone heard how worthless he thought I was. And you had no idea this was coming? None. I thought we had a normal marriage. I knew we had problems after losing the baby, but I thought we were working through them together. I didn't know about Brittany. I didn't know he'd been planning to leave me for months. Patricia walked her through discovering the emails, the hidden accounts, the fraud. Naomi explained how she documented everything, not out of revenge but to protect herself. Did you have an affair with Donovan Harris? No, absolutely not. Donovan offered me a place to stay because I had nowhere else to go. He helped me find a lawyer because I couldn't afford one. He's been a friend when I desperately needed one. Nothing more. Patricia turned to the judge. Your Honor, we have a signed affidavit from Mr. Harris stating the same. We also have testimony from his housekeeper confirming that Mrs. Bennett has been living in his guest house, not the main residence, and that their interactions have been purely professional and friendly. Robert Mitchell cross-examined Naomi, but his questions were weak. He tried to make her presence on Donovan's property seem inappropriate. He tried to suggest she'd been planning to leave Trevor all along. He tried to make the evidence she'd gathered seem vindictive rather than protective. None of it landed. Naomi answered calmly and honestly. The evidence was too strong. Then Patricia called Trevor to the stand. Trevor looked nervous as he was sworn in. Robert Mitchell led him through a prepared statement about how Naomi had changed, how she'd become cold and distant after losing the baby, how he'd sought comfort elsewhere. I made mistakes, Trevor said, looking at the judge with what Naomi recognized as his fake sincerity. But I never stopped loving my wife. When I found out she was living with my boss, it broke my heart. I overreacted. I said things I didn't mean. I just want a chance to make this right. Patricia stood for cross-examination. Mr. Bennett, when did your affair with Brittany Shaw begin? About 6 months ago. Really? Because I have emails going back 2 years. Emails where you and Ms. Shaw discuss your relationship and your plans to leave your wife. Patricia pulled up the evidence on the courtroom screen. This email is dated March 15th, 2 years ago. In it, you tell Ms. Shaw that you love her and can't wait to start a life with her. Would you like to revise your testimony about when the affair began? Trevor's face reddened. I might have the timeline wrong. You might? Or you lied under oath just now. The affair started earlier than I said. 2 years earlier, correct? Yes. And during those 2 years, you were also systematically moving money out of your joint accounts with your wife, correct? I was protecting my assets. Assets that belonged to both of you by law? Assets that included money your wife earned from her nursing job. Patricia's voice was sharp. Mr. Bennett, did you file fraudulent expense reports with Henderson Financial? Some of the reports might have had errors. Errors? Or deliberate fraud? Patricia showed more evidence on the screen. This expense report claims you had a business dinner with a client named John Anderson at Morton's Steakhouse on June 3rd. But this email between you and Ms. Shaw confirms you were actually at Morton's with her, and there is no client named John Anderson in Henderson Financial's system. Was that an error? Trevor stammered. I might have gotten the dates confused. There are 47 similar reports. Did you get confused 47 times? Or did you deliberately steal from your employer? The questioning went on. With each answer, Trevor looked worse. He contradicted himself. He tried to justify his actions. He blamed Naomi for his affair, his theft, his lies. Finally, Patricia asked, "Mr. Bennett, did you tell your wife that no man would ever want her because she was damaged goods?" Trevor hesitated. "I was angry. I didn't mean it. But you said it. In front of your neighbors. Loud enough for multiple people to hear and confirm. You publicly humiliated your wife, then kicked her out of her own home. Correct?" "Yes, but dash. Thank you." No further questions. Judge Martinez called a brief recess. Naomi sat with Patricia in the hallway, trying to process what had just happened. "You did great," Patricia said. "Trevor destroyed himself on that stand." The judge saw right through him. "He still thinks he can talk his way out of this. That's because Trevor spent his whole life talking his way out of consequences. This time is different. This time there's evidence." When court reconvened, Judge Martinez looked stern. "I've reviewed all the evidence and heard testimony from both parties. This is one of the clearer cases of marital misconduct I've seen in my years on the bench." She turned to Trevor. "Mr. Bennett, your affair began 2 years before you ended your marriage. During that time, you systematically removed funds from joint accounts, committed fraud against your employer, and eventually publicly humiliated your wife before forcing her from her home. Your claim that Mrs. Bennett abandoned the marriage is not supported by any evidence. In fact, all evidence indicates you abandoned the marriage long before she even knew it was over." Trevor started to speak, but Judge Martinez held up a hand. "I'm not finished. Your allegations that Mrs. Bennett had an affair with Mr. Harris appear to be nothing more than an attempt to deflect from your own misconduct. The evidence shows Mr. Harris offered humanitarian aid to someone in need. Nothing more." The judge turned to Naomi. "Mrs. Bennett, I'm sorry for what you've endured. What your husband did was cruel and calculated. I'm granting your divorce petition and ruling as follows." Naomi held her breath. "The marital home is awarded to Mrs. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, you will vacate any claim to the property within 30 days. All joint accounts and assets will be divided 70-30 in Mrs. Bennett's favor, given the financial abuse documented in this case. Mr. Bennett will repay the $23,000 stolen from joint accounts within 90 days. Additionally, Mr. Bennett will pay spousal support of $2,000 per month for 3 years. Trevor shot to his feet. "Your Honor, I don't have a job. How am I supposed to pay that? That's not Mrs. Bennett's concern. You should have considered your financial situation before committing fraud against your employer." Judge Martinez signed the order. "This divorce is granted. The restraining order remains in effect for 1 year. Mr. Bennett, if you violate it again, you will face jail time. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor," Trevor said, defeated. As they left the courtroom, Naomi felt dizzy. Patricia was grinning. "We won. You won. Everything you asked for and more." "I can't believe it." "Believe it. The house is yours. The money is yours. Trevor has to pay you support. This is total victory." In the hallway, Trevor tried to approach Naomi, but Patricia stepped between them. "The restraining order is still in effect. If you come within 500 feet of my client, you'll be arrested." Again. Trevor looked at Naomi, his expression desperate. "Naomi, please. Can we just talk? 5 minutes? I know I messed up, but we can fix this. I'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever you want. Just give me another chance." Naomi met his eyes. She saw the man she'd married, but also the man who had destroyed her. They weren't the same person. Maybe they never had been. "You don't get another chance," she said calmly. "You used up all your chances when you spent 2 years lying to me. When you stole from me. When you told me I was worthless in front of the entire neighborhood. This is over, Trevor. We're over. Move on." She walked away, Patricia beside her. Behind them, she heard Robert Mitchell trying to calm Trevor down, but she didn't look back. Outside the courthouse, Donovan was waiting. He took one look at Naomi's face and smiled. "You won. I won. Then let's celebrate. Lunch at wherever you want." As they drove away from the courthouse, Naomi looked back one last time. Trevor was standing on the steps, watching her leave. Brittany had joined him, her arm around his waist. They looked miserable together. Naomi turned forward and didn't look back again. She had won her freedom. Now it was time to figure out what to do with it. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Naomi sat in her new apartment and marveled at how different her life had become. The space was small, a 1-bedroom in a nice neighborhood near the hospital, but it was hers. Every piece of furniture, Every decoration, every choice had been made by her alone. The house she'd shared with Trevor had sold quickly. After paying off the mortgage and splitting the equity, Naomi had enough money to furnish her apartment, pay Patricia's legal fees, and start a savings account. Real savings in an account only she could access. Her job at the hospital had become more than just a paycheck. Helen had promoted her to head nurse of the pediatric department, recognizing the leadership Naomi had shown during her personal crisis. The raise meant she could afford therapy twice a month and still have money left over for things she enjoyed. Things had changed for Trevor and Brittany too, though not in the ways they'd hoped. From what Naomi heard through the neighborhood gossip network, Trevor had finally found a new job at a small accounting firm making half what he'd made at Henderson Financial. Brittany had been fired after the fraud investigation and was working retail. They'd moved in together in a cheap apartment across town. The criminal charges against both of them were still pending. Their trial was scheduled for next month, and Jennifer Flores had already called Naomi twice to confirm she'd testify if needed. But that was their problem, not hers. Naomi had moved on. She'd started attending a support group for women recovering from financial abuse. At first, she'd gone because her therapist recommended it. But she kept going because it helped. Sharing her story with women who understood, who had been through similar situations, made her feel less alone. And then something unexpected had happened. After Naomi shared her story at group one evening, 3 women had approached her asking for advice. They were in situations similar to what she'd been through, and they didn't know how to start protecting themselves. Naomi had helped them document their evidence, connect with lawyers, understand their rights. She'd done for them what Patricia and Donovan had done for her. And it had felt good. Really good. Now, 6 months later, Naomi had become the unofficial go-to resource in the support group for women needing practical help. She'd created information packets about financial abuse, divorce procedures, and legal resources. She built a network of lawyers, therapists, and advocates who offered sliding scale fees for women escaping bad situations. Her apartment had become a planning center. Women came over for coffee and strategy sessions. They spread out documents on her dining table and figured out next steps together. Naomi had found her purpose. One Saturday morning, Donovan called. They'd stayed in touch after Naomi moved out of his guest house, meeting for coffee every few weeks to catch up. "I have an idea I want to run by you," he said. "Can we meet for lunch?" They met at a cafe downtown. Donovan looked excited, which was unusual for his normally calm demeanor. "I've been thinking about what you're doing with the support group," he said once they'd ordered. "You're essentially providing crisis management and resource coordination for women in financial crisis. What if we formalized it?" Formalized it how? Start a nonprofit. Create an actual organization that helps women document financial abuse, connect them with legal resources, provide emergency financial assistance. "I'd like to help fund it." Naomi stared at him. "You want to fund a nonprofit for me to run?" "Not just you. We'd hire staff, get proper office space, build partnerships with law firms and shelters. But yes, I want to help you turn what you're already doing into something bigger. Something that can help more women." "Donovan, I'm a nurse. I don't know anything about running a nonprofit." "You know how to help people. You know what resources women need because you needed them yourself. The administrative stuff, we can hire people for that. What matters is the mission, and you understand that mission better than anyone." Naomi's mind raced. A real organization. Proper funding. The ability to help more women than she could reach through one support group. "I'd need to think about it. This is huge. Take all the time you need. But Naomi, you're already doing this work. You're just doing it without proper support or resources. Let me help you do it better." Over the next few weeks, Naomi researched nonprofit structures, met with lawyers about incorporation, and created a business plan. She named the organization Phoenix Rising, after the mythical bird that rose from ashes. It felt appropriate. Donovan connected her with his corporate lawyer to handle the legal setup. He offered to cover startup costs and first-year operating expenses. He introduced her to other business owners who might want to support the cause. Naomi still worked at the hospital part-time, but slowly Phoenix Rising became her primary focus. They secured office space, hired a part-time administrator, and built a website. They partnered with family law attorneys who agreed to take cases at reduced rates. They created emergency funds to help women escape dangerous situations. The support group became Phoenix Rising's first program. Within 3 months, they'd expanded to 2 groups serving 20 women total. Within 6 months, they'd added financial literacy workshops and legal clinics. Naomi had found her calling. Every woman she helped felt like justice for what Trevor had done to her. Every success story felt like another nail in the coffin of his cruelty. One evening, after leading a particularly emotional support group session, Naomi sat in her office and thought about how far she'd come. A year ago, she'd been standing on a porch with her belongings in garbage bags, believing Trevor when he said no man would want her. Now she was running a nonprofit, helping other women, and building a life that was richer and more meaningful than anything she'd had during her marriage. Her phone buzzed with a text from Helen at the hospital. "One of our nurses is going through a bad divorce. Can she contact you?" Naomi texted back immediately. "Of course. Send her my number." 10 minutes later, her phone rang. "Hello, this is Naomi." "Hi. My name is Rachel. Helen said you might be able to help me. My husband kicked me out last week and I don't know what to do." The woman's voice was tearful and scared. "Tell me what happened," Naomi said gently. As Rachel told her story, Naomi took notes and felt the familiar pull of purpose. This was what she was meant to do. Turn her pain into power. Transform her trauma into a tool to help others. By the end of the call, Rachel had a plan. She had Patricia's contact information. She had a place to stay through one of Phoenix Rising's emergency housing partners. She had hope. "Thank you," Rachel said through tears. "I didn't think anyone would understand. I understand exactly what you're going through. And I promise you it gets better. You're going to get through this." After they hung up, Naomi made herself tea and sat by her window watching the city lights. Her apartment was quiet and peaceful. Her life was hers again. She thought about Trevor occasionally, but not with pain anymore. With something closer to pity. He'd had a woman who loved him, who supported him, who would have stood by him through anything. And he'd thrown it away for what? A younger girlfriend who'd left him the moment the money ran out? A job he'd lost? A reputation he'd destroyed? Naomi had lost her marriage, but she'd gained herself. She'd discovered strength she didn't know she had. She built a life that actually mattered. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Donovan. "Board meeting next week to review first-year progress. You should be proud of what you've built." Naomi smiled and texted back, "We built it together. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for proving me right." That night, Naomi pulled out a journal and started writing. It was something her therapist had suggested, documenting her journey for herself. She wrote about the fear she'd felt standing on that porch, the humiliation of Trevor's words, the desperation of having nowhere to go. But she also wrote about the kindness of strangers who became friends, the strength she'd found in herself, the purpose she'd discovered in helping others. She wrote about Phoenix Rising and the 20 women in her support groups. She wrote about Rachel and the hope in her voice by the end of their call. She wrote about the life she was building, brick by brick, from the ruins of her marriage. "Trevor tried to break me," she wrote. "He told me no man would want me, that I was damaged, that I was worthless. But he was wrong about all of it. I'm not broken. I'm rebuilt. And I'm stronger than I ever was when I was with him." She closed the journal and got ready for bed. Tomorrow she had a meeting with potential donors for Phoenix Rising. Next week she was speaking at a conference about financial abuse in marriages. Next month she was testifying at Trevor and Brittany's trial. Her life was full, busy, meaningful, and completely her own. As she turned off the lights, Naomi thought about the woman she'd been a year ago. Scared, broken, convinced she was worthless because her husband said so. She wished she could go back and tell that woman the truth. That she was worth so much more than Trevor could ever see. That his cruelty said everything about him and nothing about her. That someday she'd be grateful he kicked her out because it forced her to find out who she really was. But she couldn't go back. She could only move forward. And forward was looking pretty damn good. Naomi was in the Phoenix Rising office reviewing grant applications when her phone rang. Patricia's name flashed on the screen. "The trial date is set," Patricia said without preamble. "Trevor and Brittany's fraud trial. 2 weeks from now. The prosecutor wants you to testify about how you discovered the evidence." "I'll be there." "Good. One more thing. Trevor's lawyer called me yesterday. Apparently Trevor wants to see you. In person. Before the trial." Naomi's first instinct was to refuse. But something made her pause. "Why?" "He says he wants to apologize. Make amends. Robert Mitchell claims Trevor's in therapy and has had a real awakening about how he treated you. They're hoping if he shows remorse, it might help with sentencing. So this isn't actually about apologizing to me. It's about him avoiding jail time. Probably. But it's your choice. If you want closure, this might be your chance to get it. If you don't, that's fine too." Naomi thought about it. A year ago, she would have jumped at the chance to hear Trevor apologize. But now, she didn't need his apology. She'd already moved on. Still, curiosity got the better of her. Fine. I'll meet him. But in a public place. With you present. I'm not doing this alone. They arranged to meet at a coffee shop near the courthouse. Patricia arrived first, securing a table in the corner where they could see the whole room. When Trevor walked in, Naomi barely recognized him. He looked older, thinner. The confidence he'd always carried had been replaced by something that looked like defeat. His clothes were worn, his shoes scuffed. He'd aged years in the months since the divorce. He sat down across from them, his hands clasped nervously on the table. Naomi, thank you for agreeing to meet me. Patricia said you wanted to apologize. I do. I really do. Trevor's voice cracked. I've been going to therapy twice a week. I've been working on myself, trying to understand why I did what I did. And I want you to know that I'm sorry. For everything. For the affair, for stealing from you, for what I said on the porch. All of it. I was wrong. Naomi studied him. He seemed sincere, but then again, Trevor had always been good at seeming sincere. Why now? Is this because your trial is coming up? No. I mean, yes, the trial made me really look at my choices. But it's not just about that. I destroyed my life, Naomi. I destroyed our marriage, my career, my reputation. Everything. And for what? For an affair that didn't even last? Brittany left me the moment things got hard. I lost everything, including the one person who actually loved me. You didn't lose me, Trevor. You threw me away. I know I did. And I hate myself for it. Every single day. Tears welled in his eyes. I thought I was trading up. I thought Brittany was better because she was younger, prettier. Her phone rang. Rachel, the woman she'd helped 6 months ago, the one who'd called her that first day. Naomi? I just wanted to let you know my divorce was finalized today. I got the house, the kids, and my ex has to pay support. I couldn't have done this without you and Phoenix Rising. I'm so proud of you, Rachel. How are you feeling? Scared. Excited. Free. All of it at once. But mostly free. That's exactly how I felt. It gets easier from here. I want to volunteer with Phoenix Rising. If you'll have me. I want to help other women the way you helped me. Naomi smiled. We'd love to have you. Come by the office next week and we'll figure out how to get you involved. After they hung up, Naomi sat in her car and looked at the courthouse in her rearview mirror. Inside, Trevor was probably being processed for prison. His life as he knew it was over. But hers? Hers was just beginning. She started the car and drove toward the Phoenix Rising office, where a support group meeting would start in an hour. 5 new women were joining tonight, all of them scared and lost and looking for hope. Naomi would give them that hope. The same hope Donovan had given her when he stopped his car and offered help. The same hope Patricia had given her when she took her case. The same hope she'd given herself when she decided to fight back instead of giving up. Trevor had tried to break her. Instead, he'd made her stronger. And now she was using that strength to help others. That wasn't just justice. It was victory. 1 year after standing on the porch with her belongings in garbage bags, Naomi stood on a stage at the Women's Business Conference, looking out at 300 faces. When my husband kicked me out, she said into the microphone, he told me that no man would ever want me, that I was damaged goods, that I should be grateful he'd stayed with me as long as he had. The audience was silent, attentive. I believed him. For about 3 days I believed every word. I thought my life was over, that I'd lost everything. Naomi paused. But then something shifted. I realized that if my life was over, I might as well rebuild it exactly how I wanted. I had nothing left to lose. She talked about discovering Trevor's betrayal, about documenting the evidence, about fighting for what she deserved in court. She talked about Phoenix Rising and the women they'd helped in the past year. We've worked with 63 women so far. 63 women who thought they had no options, no way out, no hope. 63 women who are now free. Naomi's voice strengthened. My ex-husband tried to destroy me, but instead he gave me a purpose. Every woman we help is proof that he was wrong about me, that I'm not damaged, that I'm exactly as strong and capable as I always was. The applause was thunderous. After her speech, women lined up to talk to her. Some wanted to volunteer. Some wanted to donate. Some wanted to share their own stories. One woman waited until everyone else had left. She was young, maybe 30, with a black eye poorly covered by makeup. My husband hits me, she whispered, and he controls all our money. I want to leave, but I don't know how. Can you help me? Naomi took her hand. Yes, Let me introduce you to some people. By the time Naomi left the conference, she had the woman connected with a domestic violence shelter, a lawyer, and an emergency cash grant from Phoenix Rising. She'd also gotten commitments from 3 new donors and 5 new volunteers. Donovan met her for dinner that night to celebrate. They'd fallen into an easy friendship over the past year, one built on mutual respect and shared purpose. "I saw the video of your speech," he said over pasta. "You were incredible. You're a natural speaker." "I was terrified. You didn't show it." I've been thinking. Phoenix Rising has grown so much in 1 year. What if we expanded? Opened chapters in other cities? Helped more women?" Naomi had been thinking the same thing. "I'd need more staff, more funding, more space. All doable. I'll help with the funding side. You focus on the mission." Donovan leaned back. "I'm proud of what you've built, Naomi. You took the worst experience of your life and turned it into something that helps people. That takes real strength. I had a lot of help. If you hadn't stopped that day dash. If I hadn't stopped, someone else would have. You would have figured it out. Maybe it would have taken longer, been harder, but you would have survived. That's who you are." After dinner, Naomi walked through the city thinking about how much had changed. A year ago, she'd been financially dependent on a man who didn't value her. Now she was running an organization with a 6-figure budget. A year ago, she'd been afraid of Trevor. Now she wasn't afraid of anything. Her phone rang. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Is this Naomi Bennett? The woman who runs Phoenix Rising?" "Yes." "Who is this?" "My name is Andrew Chin. I'm a reporter with the city newspaper. I'd like to do a feature story on your organization and your personal story. Would you be interested?" They talked for 20 minutes. Andrew explained that he'd seen her speech at the conference and thought it would make a powerful human interest story. Naomi agreed to the interview. The article ran 2 weeks later with the headline, "From Victim to Victor, How One Woman Turned Betrayal into a Mission to Help Others." It included photos of Naomi at the Phoenix Rising office, quotes from women she'd helped, and a detailed account of Trevor's betrayal and her triumph. It mentioned Trevor's prison sentence in passing, but focused mainly on Naomi's work. The response was overwhelming. Phoenix Rising's donation page crashed from traffic. Their volunteer list filled up. 3 other cities reached out asking how to start their own chapters. And then something unexpected happened. A publisher called. "I read the article," the woman said. "Have you ever thought about writing a book? Your story could help millions of women." Naomi hadn't thought about it, but the idea intrigued her. "What kind of book?" "Part memoir, part guidebook. Tell your story but also teach women how to protect themselves financially, how to document abuse, how to leave safely. Make it practical and inspiring." Over the next 6 months, Naomi wrote her book during early mornings before work and late nights after support group meetings. She poured everything into it. The pain of discovery, the fear of starting over, the triumph of building Phoenix Rising. But more importantly, she included detailed guides on financial abuse, divorce procedures, and building a life after leaving. The book was called Rising, a guide to finding strength after betrayal. It published a year after the newspaper article. Within a month, it was a bestseller. Within 3 months, Naomi was being invited to speak at conferences across the country. Within 6 months, Phoenix Rising had chapters in 12 cities. Trevor remained in prison, his 2-year sentence extended by 6 months for some infraction Naomi didn't care about. She never visited him. Never wrote. Never thought about him unless someone asked. Brittany had finished her sentence and disappeared. Last Naomi heard, she'd moved to another state and was trying to rebuild her life. Naomi felt nothing about that either. They were both strangers to her now. What mattered was the work, the women, the mission. One evening, Naomi sat in her apartment, now significantly nicer than her first place, and reviewed applications for Phoenix Rising's new scholarship program. They were funding women going back to school after leaving abusive situations. Her doorbell rang. She opened it to find a delivery person with a massive flower arrangement. The card read, "Congratulations on everything you've built. You inspire me every day. Donovan." Naomi smiled and texted him, "Thank you for the flowers. And for everything else." His response was immediate, "You did the hard part. I just opened a few doors." She looked around her apartment. At the walls covered with framed certificates and photos from Phoenix Rising events. At the bookshelf holding multiple copies of her own book. At the life she'd built from absolute nothing. Trevor had been wrong about everything. Men did want her, though she wasn't particularly interested in dating yet. She wasn't damaged. She was transformed. And she was exactly as valuable and capable as she'd always been, she just hadn't known it yet. Her phone buzzed with a text from a new Phoenix Rising client. Just wanted to say thank you. Before I found your organization, I thought I'd never get out. Now I have hope. Naomi typed back, you'll more than get out. You'll thrive. Trust me, I know. Because she did know. She'd lived it. She'd gone from standing on a porch with everything she owned in garbage bags to running a national organization that helped thousands of women. She'd gone from believing she was worthless to knowing she was invaluable. A year and a half after Trevor kicked her out, Naomi Bennett was truly free. Not just legally free from her marriage, but emotionally free from the lies she'd been told about her worth. She poured herself a glass of wine and stood by her window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there were women going through what she'd been through, feeling what she'd felt, believing the lies they'd been told. But some of them would find Phoenix Rising. Some of them would read her book. Some of them would learn that their worst day could be the beginning of their best life. And that made everything worth it. Naomi raised her glass to the city, to the future, to the woman she'd become. Here's to rising from the ashes, she whispered. And then she got back to work. Because there were more women to help, more stories to tell, more lives to change. The life Trevor thought would end when he kicked her out had actually just begun. And it was more beautiful than anything she could have imagined.